When you observe the world of wildlife, you may realize that nature exists in a perfect balance. During evolution, animals develop complex mechanisms that allow them to adapt to the change of environments. However, even animals that are well prepared for environmental changes are sometimes not safe when accidentally encountering one thing: ice. There are some species that can escape danger, but there are also other animals that are not so lucky. Today, let's explore the stories of some of these animals fighting with ice. Are you ready? Let's get started. Number 1. Reckless Fox. Who doesn't love nature? The fascinating scenery, snowy mountains, green fields, rivers, and lakes. How can one not admire it? It cannot be denied that nature around us is extremely beautiful, but it also contains many dangers, and nature does not always forgive the mistakes of humans as well as animals in nature. The stories below will prove that the wild nature is not a place to be reckless. A fox decides to take a walk on the thin ice of the Danube in Germany. It is not clear whether this fox did it out of curiosity or to spot prey on the other side, but the result was that it fell into the lake because the thin ice could not support its weight. The predator recklessly swam under the ice for a few more meters but could not get out. After a while, thick ice surrounded the unfortunate animal from all sides, causing it to freeze. The fox was discovered by Mr. Franz Striller, a local resident. To get out of the ice, he had to use a saw. His friends also added that as soon as the ice melted, he took this poor animal to a special animal burial service. Since that occurrence, in the natural world, there still exists a reminder that ice is a dangerous matter. We also feel very sorry for this poor fox. So, be extra careful when moving around frozen rivers. Number 2. Frozen school of fish. We don't mean to scare you, but even if you're careful, you can still fall into the dangerous traps on this planet. However, if you are not a fan of swimming in Norway's coastal waters in January, you have nothing to fear. Christensen recorded a strange phenomenon on a winter morning when he was walking his dog along Lovend Bay. He admired the icy surface of the sea when suddenly he saw a whole school of herring below the ice, looking as if someone had frozen the fish when they were moving. There is a theory that the fish may have frozen under some kind of superpower. There is also a theory that Christensen did something to cause the fish to freeze in such a state. An expert from Norway's Marine Research Institute dismissed all these assumptions. He said there is no supernatural power that can be compared with the power of nature. Mysterious phenomena like this of Norway happen thanks to a number of coincidental events. The fish have been cornered by cormorants, a wild predator, into shallow water and are unable to move into deeper waters where the freezing is less likely. At that time, because the temperature in the bay is much lower than usual and the wind is very strong, the water turned to ice and immediately surrounded the herring. Do you think so, or do you still think that these phenomena originate from supernatural powers? Let us know by commenting below. Number 3. Moose frozen in lake. Surely the people living in Norway can be likened to the lords of ice and snow. The reason we say this is because there are stories that are often told by Norwegians about animals that, despite their large size, still become victims of snow and ice here. In this story, Ingo Schubert was skating along Como Lake in the Wellness Fjord and noticed what looked like a big lump of dirt on the surface of the glacial lake. As she approached, she realized she was wrong. It was a giant European moose that got stuck trying to cross the lake. According to zoologists, this is normal behavior for mammals. Moose are good at swimming in cold weather, but in fact, they can still die if exposed to too cold weather. Eyewitness Miss Inga said that the ice was very thick and located close to the coast, but it was actually relatively thin, so it could not support the 600 kilogram weight of an adult elk as it walked by. Unfortunately, the poor moose did not know this. Number 4. Fighting moose frozen in ice. In the previous story, the moose got stuck in the ice by accident. The other 2 moose we're going to tell you about ended their fate by themselves, fighting for a female. In the natural world, these animals act entirely on instinct and so can sometimes become careless. And here is a prime example. It's hard to guess whether these 2 elk started their battle in the Alaska River, but the reality is that both are trapped in the river. Looking at their posture when frozen, we have reason to believe that they didn't even try to escape but continued to fight. In many cases, the horns are the reasons why they get stuck in the ice and can't move. These moose were discovered by Braz Webster, a teacher along with a friend of his. From what they saw, one of them might have died in the fight, and the other deer didn't seem to enjoy the victory for long before getting stuck in the ice. This reminds us of a famous saying, "He got what he wanted, but at what cost?" In other words, the winning moose got what he wanted, but at the cost of its life. Number 5. Mammoth with liquid blood. Do you think the mammoth has disappeared from our planet forever? Don't jump to conclusions too quickly, because this giant mammal could actually reappear on Earth, at least in scientific labs. In the century-old ice of Yucatia, a team of palynologists have discovered traces of ancient animals, and the special thing is that in their bodies, they still have liquid blood. This makes scientists very confused. During the excavation, the temperature of the air was only about -10 degrees. On the other hand, the upper part of the mammoth fish was also almost destroyed by predators. So why hasn't the blood of this animal coagulated under such conditions for thousands of years? Researchers have come up with several explanations. The carcass of this mammal was partially submerged in a lake, then quickly frozen, creating excellent conditions for persevering the abdomen and lower limbs. Biologists also believe that mammoth blood may have cold-resistant properties, helped by biological substances found in mammoths. Scientists hope that we can clone this extinct animal in the future. Maybe one day, these mammals will walk the streets with tyrannosauruses and saber-toothed tigers. Number 6. Rescuing kittens with coffee. Let's step away from the scientific world for a moment and talk about a very familiar animal, cats. Admittedly, it's hard to walk past a fluffy cat without petting it, and if the cat is in trouble, anyone is likely to rush to help it. Kendall Dewish, a Canadian oil worker and a hero of the story we're about to tell. While driving to work in Drayton Valley, he suddenly encountered an obstacle, which was 3 kittens who were screaming and couldn't move from the road because their tails were frozen to the ground. This man quickly came up with a solution. He went back to the car to retrieve his still warm coffee and carefully thawed the ice around the cats. The cats were then washed, fed, and placed into a warm place. All 3 lucky cats have found their new family and are not separated from each other. The family that adopted these cats wrote on Facebook, "These cats are really voracious and full of energy." What does this story teach you? Don't forget to take coffee while walking in the winter, because it might just come in handy. Number 7. Alligator on ice. When you hear a cruel and iconic roar, it's the alligators from North Carolina mocking the other creatures because they lost the battle with the inclement weather. Surely this fearsome predator will not let themselves be defeated by snow and ice. In the record cold in the US, the medical staff of Rivers One Park thought that this reptile would not be able to survive. However, these predators show good adaptation to weather conditions. As soon as winter begins, the crocodiles reduce their activity to a minimum and put themselves into a state of hibernation. All cold-blooded animals have the ability to lower body temperature and slow down metabolism. Then they lay there doing nothing and enjoying life. Even during hibernation, animals need oxygen. But if the ice covered the entire surface of the lake, they wouldn't have oxygen to breathe. With this being said, we don't need to worry about this dodgy animal. They have a special trick, which is to leave the snout with the nostrils above the surface of the water. That will help them survive until weather returns to normal. When the ice melts, reptiles take a long time to recover and seem to have no response to external stimuli. Therefore, if you see a sleepy alligator right after the ice melts, you can come close and pet it. Our video for today ends here. If you liked this video, don't forget to click the like, subscribe button to the channel and turn on the notification button so you don't miss any interesting videos. Goodbye and see you again.